From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
From the city to her Texas roots.
Just like life evolves, agriculture's evolving.
Kimberly Ratcliffe is back at the family ranch, and she's a top producer award winner. Plus, Machinery Pete is constantly looking for a good deal as government leaders continue to focus on avian flu.
We are looking at every possible scenario to ensure that we are doing everything we can.
The latest in the battle to stop the spread today on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. Pioneer brand corn is part of a winning team that includes deep local knowledge and on-farm support. Pioneer brand corn, your best years starts here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's not just egg prices being impacted. The latest outbreak of avian influenza is throwing a blanket across the entire ag industry. And leaders are rushing to find a solution. Michelle Rook joins us with the very latest on this. Michelle.
Clinton, on February 13th, the Iowa Department of Agriculture detected another case of HPAI in a commercial turkey flock in Buena Vista County. Now, this is Iowa's third detection of H5N1 within domestic birds in 2025, and there's no sign of a slowdown. This came on the first day at the job for USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins, and she immediately moved it to the top of her agenda, an encouraging sign for agriculture. USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins is tackling HPAI head-on, taking to X to show one of her first meetings on day one was to take a deep dive into avian flu.
Very first briefing in my office last night was on this particular issue, was on the avian bird flu. We are looking at every possible scenario to ensure that we are doing everything we can in a safe, secure manner, but also to ensure that Americans have the food that they need. We will be announcing more in the coming days, but just so you all know, I'm already in massive contact and lots of discussions with the team here at the White House, with teams across the federal agencies, but certainly with the extraordinary team and the bright minds at the USDA.
Rollins' action is encouraging to agriculture and animal health officials who call this an unprecedented outbreak, including Ohio State's Andrew Bowman.
That's a great first step. HPI has obviously been a problem for us. The number of detections that we've seen in poultry flocks has continued. And I think the latest report was over 20 million birds affected in the last 30 days. And then add to that the more recent detection of another spillover of the D11 into dairy cattle in Nevada, indicates that this isn't going away on its own.
Ohio's now reported its first case of human bird flu, and a new CDC study finds undetected cases in vets who did not show symptoms or know they were working with infected cattle. Bowman says that is not surprising, but it's also not alarming.
So I think the overall risk is fairly low. As you look across the 69 cases, the vast majority of those are folks working in animal agriculture. That is the likely exposure. And to date, most of those cases have been fairly mild.
Reports also indicate the Trump administration's DOGE cuts have disrupted the U.S. response to HPAI and the outbreak, which one Washington insider disputes.
I don't think I necessarily buy that. The people in APHIS are pretty dedicated people. They're going to be charging ahead.
Meanwhile, the crisis has spurred a regional emergency and hours of service waivers for relief transport to help ease the shortage of eggs. This comes as the average price for a dozen eggs hit a record high $4.95 in January and could continue to climb, with USDA reporting 21 million chickens culled, 13 million in December alone. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
Meanwhile, President Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting in Washington last week. Now, they agreed to launch trade negotiations in order to address the U.S. trade deficit, which sits at roughly $100 billion. The two countries already have most favored nation status between each other. However, the U.S. average applied tariff on agricultural goods is 5%, which India's average tariff is 39%. President Trump says the goal is to eventually sign an agreement. Last week's snow bringing several inches to the Midwest, including Iowa and Illinois. Now, some places seeing the first measurable snow of the winter. parts of Iowa have seen one of the least snowiest winters in 130 years. Scott Bonner has a dairy farm right on the Iowa-Illinois border near East Moline. He says the moisture is badly needed.
Yeah, we're concerned. We're kind of on the dry side, and if we get rain now with the ground froze, it's just going to run off. So really, we probably need more snow. So that way we can hope for a slow melt, maybe some of this snow go to the ground and get us some sort of soil moisture build up. And this one was supposed to be a big one, 5 to 8 maybe, and we got somewhere between 2 and 3. I mean, you can tell by these fields behind us that are in wheat. I mean, you can still see the wheat, so it was not a very heavy snow like anticipated.
Now, they milk 750 cows and farm 1,500 acres of corn, soybeans, rye, and wheat. Speaking of snow, California's Sierra Mountains and the West getting dumped on in last week. Meteorologist Jack Van Meter joins us to talk about what to expect in the days ahead.
And it was a very snowy past week, especially for the western part of the country. They were dealing with that bomb cyclone. What happened was all that moisture and energy was forced on land and then further forced up the mountains. That's why we're seeing pretty incredible amounts of snowpack in parts of the western mountains, all the way going up into parts of Oregon and Washington, and then going down into the Sierra Nevadas as well. And some of that energy was passed on through the Rocky Mountains. And when we go to the east side of the country, that's where we're seeing some more lake effect snow, and also we're seeing some of the remnants from some northeastern storms that we've been seeing throughout the past week. We can see pretty healthy snowpack, especially in northern upstate New York, going all the way up into Maine. And it's actually good news because a lot of the East Coast was actually dealing with fairly dry conditions. So they are dealing with some nice snow on the ground. And take a look at this beautiful scene from the UC Berkeley Central Sierra Snow Lab in Soda Springs, California. They expect between 2 and 5 feet of snow last week. At the start of the month, the lab said overall precipitation was at 107%, but snow water equivalent was only 82%. That's due to the mostly warmer temperatures, rain, and melt periods in January. We'll have your full forecast coming up.
Soybeans and wheat seeing some strength to end last week. Can it continue this week? Michelle Rook asks the questions next in Markets Now. And later, she left a big job in New York City to return to the family ranch in Texas. Why she made the drive home and why she's excited about the future today in the country.
AgDay is brought to you by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator Closing Wheels provide quicker emergence and are more consistent in dry conditions than any other closing wheels. Order 12 to 16 rows today and qualify for free shipping or 20% off an end zone moisture management package.
Was it weather, trade talk, or a 3-day weekend? Commodity markets were on a bit of a bumpy ride Friday, so what should we expect today? Michelle Rook joins us with Markets Now.
Well, grains all ending to the plus side on Friday. Garrett Toy is back with analysis. Nice rally in the grains led by the wheat market. Was it technical or was there something fundamental pushing it?
Well, we've had some excitement in the Ukraine Black Sea situation, talks of potential peace deal. There's also a late drone attack around Chernobyl that obviously caught social media by surprise. But there's also concerns about the cool down in temps they're forecasting for this week, and potential it's a winter kill issue that we seem to get 4 or 5 every winter. But through all of it is the funds have been long corn. They've been trying to buy soybeans on either side of things. But I think that you're looking at a wheat market that's seen some short covering, and you're going to see some position evening up relative to the other markets.
Yeah, absolutely. And corn making some new highs for the move on Friday from a chart perspective or otherwise. Can grains build on this in this new week here?
Well, corn has been really hesitant to try to push through $5. The contract, the near-term highs at $4.99 3/4 on Friday. We did have a breakout of a wedge pattern that measures about 16 cents. That if we do potentially see some follow-through could potentially put us back towards that 508 level here into the May highs of 2024. So we'll see if we see some follow through this week.
Yeah, and what are the things that are going to be driving that other than money flow? We're still watching tariffs, some of these other things, aren't we?
Yeah, the volatility has definitely kicked up since the President Trump's administration, since his inauguration. But yes, tariffs are definitely the headlines are going to be driving trade and money flow.
And we're still watching South America's crop.
Yeah, South American soybean harvest should progress. Forecasts look beneficial. We will have a USDA Ag Outlook meeting here coming up. That'll turn some focus on new crop as well.
All right. Thanks so much. That's Garrett Troy with Ag Trader Talk, and we'll have more Ag Day coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
To contact Garrett, call him at 888-745-2020 or find him at agtradertalk.com.
Taking a look at the jet stream, we can see that cold and Arctic air that we were dealing with at the beginning of the week, just yesterday, is starting to slide off into the East Coast. That center of low pressure moving off into parts of Maine and actually starting to see a bit of a warm up or return to normalcy for much of the country. That being said, for parts of the northern Great Plains through the East Coast, going to get another shot of cold and Arctic weather. As we can see, a detached low looks like it's going to be forming over Minnesota and then digging over the Great Lakes states and parts of the Midwest once again. And what this is going to do is bring more chances of snow. But the bigger impact is going to be the cold weather that will be driven by this. Also looking at another trough that is starting to develop out to the west, but over the plains, high pressure is going to be in place. And what that's going to really do is start to really clear the skies and bring up the temperatures just a little bit. I just wanted to look forward in the next 3 months, and this is something that we can start to see as spring is starting to emerge, actually just a little over a month away. We can see for the Ohio Valley region is going to be fairly rainy and actually have a decent amount of chances for some more snow. We're looking at less than normal and than average chances of precipitation, especially for the Four Corners and parts of the Gulf states. And then for the temperatures, we're kind of looking at a rather similar pattern to the precipitation. As we can see, really warm chances of temperatures, especially again from the Four Corner states going to the Gulf and actually going up much of the East Coast as well. And you would think that mirrors up pretty well. And for much of the country, again, just going to be dealing with the fairly normal temperatures and actually fairly cold for parts of the Northeast. And what we're actually watching for, again, are those Arctic blasts that we keep on seeing moving through the country. It's an interesting trend that we're watching. And of course, we'll update you with the latest details. Bandana, Kentucky. 27 degrees and low of 11 degrees. Mostly cloudy conditions. Might see a couple snowflakes there. Dickens, Iowa, we're talking -2 degrees with a low temperature of -21 degrees. And finally, Rayville, Louisiana, 53-25.
The Association of Equipment Manufacturers says 2025 is off to a slow start for ag equipment sales. In its monthly flash report, it says January sales of all tractors were down 16% compared to a year ago. Four-wheel drive units were down 55%. Combine sales, well, they were also lower this January compared to last, off 79%. Well, Machinery Pete is used to keeping an eye on ag equipment trends. Well, today he's here with some hot items to watch.
Well, folks, one thing I found 3.5+ decades covering auctions, tracking prices, every single sale, whether it's a farm sale, consignment, dealer, big sale, small, online, consignment, whatever, every sale has at least one item that sells much higher than you think. Now, it was driven home recently. I've been on the road a lot. We've been recording auctions for our Machinery Pete TV show. Let me just give you 3 examples. So, last Thursday, I'm down in Hollandale, Mississippi, covering the farm retirement auction for Marvin Cochran, great farmer down there, sale by Mid-Delta Auction. The hottest item on the sale, no doubt, was this Great Plains 2520F 25-foot grain drill. Sold for $41,000. It's clearly all-time record high price on a Great Plains 2520F. Now, earlier this month, February 1st, I was covering an auction in Seven Springs, North Carolina, farm retirement auction for Glenn Rouse, another great farmer. This was a sale by my friends at Jason Acock Auctioneering. The hottest item on that sale? Well, no doubt it was this one, a 2014 Toyota 6,000-pound forklift with only 1,267 hours on it, one owner. Sold for $36,000. That's the second highest auction price I've ever seen on a Toyota forklift, and I've seen over 800 of them sold. But of course, you know, what's a new forklift cost? A lot more than $36K, right? We go back 2 months, December 5th, we filmed a farm retirement auction in Mount Pulaski, Illinois for farmer Kent Brooker. And this was a sale by Mike Moskey Auction Service, known Mike for many years. And the hottest item on that sale was this one, a Bush Hog 1865E side boom mower. Went for $20,000. Shortly after it sold, the farmer owner, Kent Brooker, pulled me aside and he said, "Pete, I didn't pay near that for it a few years ago." So again, every sale always has at least one super hot item.
It can be hard for farm kids to give up the lights of the big city and return home to the family operation. Well, up next, we'll meet a Texas rancher who did just that, and she's not looking back in the country. Every year, our company holds an event called Top Producer Summit, and every year it hands out 3 significant awards to farmers. One for Top Producer of the Year, another is the Top Producer Next Gen Award for a farmer under 40, and third is the Top Producer Women in Agriculture Award. Now, the summit is underway right now in Kansas City, and this year's Women in Agriculture Award winner is a rancher from Texas with a story to tell.
This is right where Kimberly Ratcliffe was born to be.
It rained 2 days ago.
Amid the Bermuda grass and cattle of Caney Creek Ranch in Oakwood, Texas.
Just like life evolves, agriculture's evolving. And I'm excited for this new evolution in agriculture.
Her journey back to the Texas Plains began with big dreams in the Big Apple.
I ended up going to college in New York City. I really thought New York City was what I wanted. I really thought that was the lifestyle I wanted.
Working at Bloomberg in marketing and public relations, she found herself being pulled back toward commodities.
That hit me hard, and I realized I think I need to go back home because I have enough knowledge of how this financial institution works. But I don't think the community understands how that affects them.
Her father and ranch owner Wesley remembers the phone call following a recent visit.
I said, "You don't know anything about cow business, do you?" She said, "I'm going to school."
And she did. She entered the TCU Ranch Management program and a few years later was the first African American to graduate. She moved home and went to work.
So I would get people driving up to the house and wanted to put their eyes on me. Did you really come home? Because people always say they want to come home, but they never do it.
Kimberly started Ratcliffe Premium Meats, a direct-to-consumer beef business with a story to tell.
Being a woman in this industry and being a black woman, I think the number one thing is I honestly have the best support system here in my community. And they're the one pushing me.
And it's a family affair as she's also getting help from her brothers.
In 5 years, my goal is to have all my family working for us.
As demand grows, this family operation is expanding and helping more in their community.
In the ag community, I need your cattle. I need you to keep your land. I need you to have healthy cattle. I need you to have great grass and great soil. I need you to have all those things that will make me successful. So how can I help you with your success?
She's sharing that success with local and state food banks.
The first thing I support is my local food bank. Every month I make sure they are stocked with every protein they can. I don't even want them ever to have to worry about buying protein external.
It's that kind of heart for others, helping her honor this opportunity, and her mother, who passed away from breast cancer in 2019.
She was just fighting because she saw the success that I was doing, and she wanted to be here to say, "I'm proud of you," right? And then I know she's still proud of me. Yeah, I know she's still proud of me.
Proud of the work she's done and the difference she's making.
Really taking us back to the root of what agriculture's about and how it started with the small, large, all working together to feed the world.
Kimberly Ratcliffe, this year's 2025 Top Producer Women in Ag Award winner.
Congratulations. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.